Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Saturday. It's a bit of a change of time today. It's 4 p.m. I normally do these in the morning, but this is life. We all need to be flexible, especially right now when everybody's doing everything virtually. So thank you so much for joining, whoever has joined. As always, please keep your comments coming and keep sending me ideas and questions, and I will keep an eye on all the comments, and I will try my best to address as many of them as possible. So today's goal, or today's topic, sorry, is about goals, and it's really about setting realistic and achievable goals. It's the start of a new year. We are all exhausted from how uh, unpredictable and stressful and many times, not knowing where we're going kind of a year in 2021. And now we're starting 2022 with much of the same, right? Like we thought we're getting out of the pandemic, and now suddenly we've been pulled back again because of the new variant, and we're all really burned out and exhausted. And it can be really difficult and uh, just challenging to have an optimistic outlook and be able to say, yeah, you know what? I'm really pumped up for 2022, and these are my goals, and this is what I'm going to do, right? Normally, the start of a new year is like all about uh, setting resolutions and goals and ideas, but we can't really do all of that if we're not feeling great. Or for some of us, maybe that is a way to move forward. Maybe that is a way that we are going to conquer this, and we want to set even bigger goals, and we want to say, you know what, I'm going to beat this thing, and I'm going to set myself these goals. I'm going to kick this to the curb. I'm really going to move forward because that's what I really need to feel optimistic. I'm hearing from people that you cannot hear me, so I'm going to end this broadcast and start it again. I'm not sure why people can't hear me. Maybe if somebody can hear me, perhaps someone can just say that yes, we can hear you. I just want to make sure that this isn't just a couple of users, or is it everybody? No audio. Okay. All right. I'm going to end this and I'll be right. Uh, okay. So, well, there are some people who can hear me. Thank you, Nahal. So, I'm not entirely sure what's going on. Maybe if somebody can, let me just mute. Okay, so yeah, there are people who can hear. So, yeah, if for those of you who can't hear, sometimes if you restart the app, it starts working, and hopefully that will get it going. So, thank you for letting me know. Just a minute, something else is going on. Okay, so we're just getting technical challenges. I was getting an error on my end too. So we'll just restart. Let me do my spiel again. So it's the start of the year. A lot of us are feeling quite drained because we feel like what is this year going to look like, right? We came out of a very difficult and up and down, kind of many times painful 2021. We thought we're out of it. We thought we're out of the pandemic. We can now move forward. But then now again in 2022 with the new variant, it's kind of like we've been pulled back again, right? And normally the start of a year is like super optimistic, and you want to set new goals, and we want to set new resolutions for ourselves, personal, professional, whatever they may look like. But how can we do that if we're feeling so drained and we feel like, oh my gosh, like how am I going to move forward? We feel that it's really difficult, and we feel our energy is not quite there. We're feeling burned out, and even though some things around us might be okay, or even if we personally haven't been affected by job loss, or a loved one being affected by by coronavirus, we know people who are, we know people who are affected, and just living in this unrealistic, unprecedented, very, very uncertain time can be very debilitating and challenging for all of us, right? So how do we really bring the motivation to set new goals, especially when we know that whatever goal we set, we don't know what, life and world is going to look like 2 months from now. So I don't know the goal that I'm going to set is, will it even be achievable? Will it even be realistic? Because I don't know what the state of the world is going to be. But on the other hand, some of us might also say, well, you know, I'm going to beat this thing to the curb and I'm going to set goals anyway. And I'm going to set really big goals because I want to move forward. I don't want to let this pandemic dictate my life. And some of us might be kind of in the middle, going back and forth, right? I've certainly felt that. There are days when I feel like I just don't even want to set any goals for myself because I don't know what life is going to look like a few months from now. And then there are other days when I'm like, you know what, no matter what comes my way, I'm going to achieve this, I'm going to do this, et cetera, et cetera. So how do we make sure that we're taking care of ourselves? We're not stretching ourselves so thin, but also staying optimistic. We're also setting goals and dreams for ourselves that are achievable, that are going to lift us up, that are going to give us momentum, and also making sure that we're achieving our big dreams for life, right? So let's talk about some of those pieces. And I just want to share, because always a storyteller. I always start all my speeches with stories, and I'm going to signpost this talk today with my journey into medical school. And a year and a half ago, a year ago, actually, last September, is when I thought to myself, you know what? I'm in the middle of a pandemic. I know that I need to do a career move. I've known this for a very long time, but I have kind of been in this to-do wheel, like this hamster wheel of I got to do this, I got to take care of my kids, I got to earn a paycheck, I got to, do my speaking and writing work, etc. Where I haven't really had time to think about what do I really want to do because I was so caught up in what I have to do. The pandemic gave us all, or actually forced us all to pause. And I paused as well. And I was no longer in the hamster wheel of just going and doing. And I got a chance to just sit with my own thoughts and listen to my own intuition and find out what is it that makes me happy? Where do I want my life to go? And in fact, I think the pandemic also gave me a bit of a push that life is unpredictable, right? Do I really want to keep living just doing things that I have to do? Or do I really want to push myself and dare myself to dream about the things that I really want to do? Things that I've been dreaming of for a very long time. Becoming a doctor was my childhood dream. I have become, in the past few years of my advocacy work, more and more passionate about mental health. And I wanted to take my career in that field. I didn't want to be in two sort of living in two worlds of like corporate banking and then doing speaking and writing work. So I really wanted to push myself to dare to dream differently and do things differently. So I decided to apply to medical school. And in that decision, again, was very daunting. I'm like, wow, med school is like living a whole new life. I already have an established career. There's so many moving pieces. I'm a single mother. I'm responsible for my daughters. I have a lot of, I'm responsible for finances. I'm responsible for a lot of different things. So how am I going to make it work? I'm not the traditional orthodox student who comes straight out of undergrad. How am I going to actually make this happen? So yes, it was very daunting. And if I looked at it in the totality, it wasn't even just about the application. It's like going through medicine, going and doing your residency, and finally being able to, practice your career. That's like a 8-9 year journey. And in my late 30s, that wasn't something that I took very lightly. And it did feel very daunting and overwhelming that if I really want to do this, like I have to dedicate a decade of my life. And it seems like an impossible mountain to climb. So how did I go through that? And how am I going through that right now? Because yes, I'm in, but it's the journey is ongoing, and it sometimes gets harder than ever before. So first of all, really understanding the importance, but also the pitfalls of planning. We all want to have a plan. We all want to have, yes, this is what I need to do to get there. But also understand that sometimes when we plan very rigidly, when we think that this is exactly what I need to do, we sort of put blinders on. And then we don't look here and there. And we think, okay, this is what I got to do. But then imagine if you're only looking at one door that you want to open, there might be like a door opening right there, a door opening right there, a door opening that's sort of not in your blinder vision, and you're not looking at them. And those doors might actually lead you to even better and bigger opportunities, right? Like this is kind of what was happening to me earlier, like in the past few years, where I was just so focused on a few things in my life that I wasn't really able to see a few, like, oh, this is where my interests are going. Maybe this is something that I can do. When until I was like really forced to sit and reckon with myself that what is the that field, what is that next path going to look like for me? And when I started exploring and I found, wow, okay, so going to med school actually is doable. There are people who have done it before at my life stage. There are people who have done it before without a science degree. So here's like what I can do. And then I broke it down into small steps and a plan, that this is what my plan is going to look like. And I had a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, that, okay, I'm going to write the MCAT, apply to this school. If I don't get in, then I will write the MCAT again and apply to more schools. If I don't get into Canada, then here's what I will do with maybe international applications. So I had a rough like idea of what those buckets are going to look like for me. But at the same time, I also kept myself open. I was also looking at different career paths. Okay, I'm really passionate about mental health. If it's not medicine, then what else could it be? Could it be psychology? Could it be social work? Could it be psychotherapy? So I was trying to explore what all the different ways to make my dream come true, because there's always different doors you can go through, as long as you have a certain direction and a certain focus, that yes, this is my vision. There's different ways to get there. But sometimes if you're only planning for one path, we lose sight of all the other paths that might be opening around us. So it's really important to have a plan, but also understand that it's important to be flexible. It's important to keep your eyes open, to look at all the different types of opportunities that might come your way while you're so focused on this one thing. So, very important to be flexible, very important to be adaptable. It sort of reminds me of this of this quote by Oprah in one of her books, that life is like a river, and we don't know what lies in the around the next corner or the next bend. We don't really know what's going to come our way, right? But what we do know is that if we are as flexible and water-like as possible, we can go through any of those things. We can go under the boulder or through the waterfall or whatever it is. We'll find our way, and we'll keep moving forward with grace. So it's good to have direction, but it's also important to be very flexible. Secondly, seeking guidance and having a strong support system around us is extremely important. I cannot stress this enough. Whenever I'm looking to do something new, whenever I'm setting a big goal for myself or a dream that I'm trying to achieve, I talk to a lot of people. But it's also important to pick wisely who you talk to. Sometimes we talk to people, and this is sort of our implicit bias about ourselves. This is called a confirmation bias, where we kind of have an idea of what we want to hear, and will only seek people that we know will tell us what we want to hear, right? Like I know, for example, like when I decided, let's say on medical school, my initial thought was, I will only talk to people who tell me yes, go for it. But I wanted people to challenge me as well, because when people challenge you and you are put in a position to really justify or confirm what you're talking about, and you hear yourself talk because you're trying to convince someone else, that actually helps solidify your own reasoning in your mind as well. Like this is what my mentor always does. He doesn't tell me what to do. He asks me, okay, this is what you want to do, explain to me why. And then I sit there for an hour trying to explain my reasoning. And oftentimes, by through the course of that conversation, either my own conviction of my dream and goal and vision will be like, yes, definitely I'm going to do it. Or sometimes it's like, yeah, maybe not so much, because I hear myself talk through my own thoughts. And that really helps bring it home for me. So having that support system of different perspectives, and but again, people you trust. So one rule that I always have: never take criticism from people you will not take advice from. So pick your people wisely. Pick people who you know have your best interests at heart. Because if you're going to ask random people, they will tell you 100 different things. And oftentimes people will tell you, no, you can't do this because they can't see themselves doing it. Right? When people tell you you can't do something, they're showing you their limits. They're not showing you your limits. So if somebody's going to say, oh, you can't do it, that's impossible, you can't do it, that's not someone you want to talk to. You want to talk to someone, okay, why is it you want to do this? How will you do this? Let's find a way to help you do this. Right? Those are the kinds of people that you want to seek advice from and seek guidance from. Also, do your research. Go online. Go talk to people in communities that you trust. Like, how have they done it before? So one of the things that I did when I thought about going to med school is I actually reached out to a number of people who have gone to med school in their 30s and 40s, and they've become doctors and it's been their second career. And one person actually I was connected with, he was a music teacher and then went to the same university that I'm going to right now for the medical school at McMaster, and is now a family physician in Ontario. And I was like, I really want to talk to this person. So I got connected to them and I had a great conversation, and he really, really guided me so well. I'm like, okay, this has been done before. This is how he did it. This is how I'm going to do it. Right. So having that perspective is extremely, extremely important. Um, and then finally, also learn to say no. Sometimes we get so excited about new goals and new visions that we take on much more than we have capacity for. And I'm totally guilty of that because I get very excited about a lot of things. I have tons of energy. I'm very passionate as a person. So whenever I see something that, it's like, oh my God, this is awesome, I want to get all into it. And then I realize, oh crap, I don't really have the capacity to do it. There's only 24 hours in a day, and I have all this and this and this that I've taken on, right? So what I've learned over the years is to be really cognizant of what my capacity is and be okay to say no. We cannot ever do everything that comes our way. We cannot go through every door that opens. And you might want to open the door a little bit, peek in and see sort of what's going on, and then be like, okay, you know what? Not my cup of tea, or I don't have capacity right now. Or you might say, well, you know what? This is really worth it. I think I'm going to make time for this, or I'm going to let go of a couple of other things so I can do this, and that's totally, totally okay. For example, I right currently serve on a couple of different boards, and since I've started med school, I know my life is going to get busier and busier. Right now, I'm in classes, but next year, this time, I will be in rotations. I will be working long shifts at hospitals and trying to get and getting training, and I really want to focus on that. So I've decided to step down from a couple of boards that I'm part of, and that's totally okay. Not that I'm any less passionate about that work. I'm very passionate. I want to contribute, but I also know that here are my priorities and this is my capacity, and I don't want to take on something that I will not be able to do just justice to. So understanding your own limitations is also really, really important, and saying no is okay. Like removing the guilt from saying no, in fact, it's welcome. And there are ways to say no nicely as well, like, no, I can't do this, but here's someone who might be able to. Or I cannot help in this capacity, but here's another way that I can contribute or I can help. Right? So doing things that don't stretch yourself so thin that it makes you feel overwhelmed. And finally, I always bring this home usually at the end of every talk that I do, is the importance of taking care of yourself. Like when we're really motivated and when we're really passionate about something we're working towards, we often tend to put ourselves on the back burner, and we do that until we get into a position where we're burning out. Like we'll work long hours. Let's say if we're trying to start a business, like for example, like I am the founder of a not for profit, and I remember, like, there are times I'm so passionate about that work that I would just keep doing it because I would feel like I can't let the momentum go. I have to keep keep going and keep coming and keep doing this work, because otherwise it will, I will lose that momentum. However, it's really important to understand that you need to put your own oxygen mask first. If you're not okay, you cannot do any of this work. You cannot fulfill any of these goals. So one of the things that I'm really cognizant of now is to be proactive about my self-care. Don't wait until you're burned out. Don't wait until you're like working endlessly for like weeks, and then you're like, oh my god, what do I do now? Right? Have the wherewithal and make it a priority. Like, I actually put me time in my calendar. I block my calendar for, okay, this is my day, or this is a couple of hours during my week where I'm just going to decompress, where I'm just going to unplug, where I'm just going to be and not do. Because we always go so deeply into do mode, we forget to just be. And when we're just being with ourselves, when we're letting our intuition speak to us, that's kind of a lot of times when the best ideas and the best goals come to us. So we need to be able to create that safe space to take care of ourselves and listen to our own thoughts and our feelings and our mind, and honor our feelings. That if I'm feeling burned out today, I'm going to take the time to just be and take care of myself. I don't have to push myself. The world's not going to fall apart. I'm not going to be a failure, and it's going to be all right. So it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to step back and take care of yourself. And then also being comfortable with failure. With any new goal, you're going to have lots of different pitfalls and detours and failures. When I first wanted to go to university, so, 10, 15 years ago, I was stuck in an abusive marriage where I applied to university, but I was not allowed to go. And it happened 2 times, 3 times. And at that time, I really sometimes felt like maybe it's not in my destiny to ever get an education. Maybe I should just give up. But now when I look back, all those failures, what I saw as failures at the time, were necessary parts and necessary components for getting me to success ultimately. Because for each of those times, I recognized a new barrier that I had to overcome. So I knew that for the first time when I applied and I wasn't allowed to go, I knew that, okay, maybe I need to wait for my children to be a little bit older. Or now this time I need to get, these high school courses under my belt. And this time I need, the next time I applied and I wasn't, I got in, but then I had a money issue and I knew that I needed to make money to be able to go to university. So it was really important for me to recognize those roadblocks in order to be able to conquer them, because you cannot really conquer something until you recognize it. So once I recognized those things, that's when I really knew, okay, this is what I need to work on and this is how I can move past it. So I looked for creative ways. So for example, I knew I needed to make my money to pay my way through university. Getting out of the house and getting a job was not allowed. So I started to do babysitting and tutoring at home. And that's how I secretly saved money. While most of my money would be taken away from me by my ex-husband and his family, I'd secretly save money to be able to pay my way through university eventually. So, those are things that got me to where I needed to be. And those were crucial parts and crucial components of my success. So there's no failure except not getting back up again. Anytime you fall, that's actually something I have learned to be grateful for. Okay, you know what? I've fallen. This hasn't worked, but that's good information, because now I know that this is not going to work. So something else will. So I'm going to try something else, right? So having that perspective about failure is so critical when you're working towards goals, because success, we think it's a straight path. It's actually so wiggly, and there's so many detours and setbacks and pitfalls and everything. And if we're not going to have the resilience and the determination to get back up and try again and keep going again, one more step, one more time, then no matter how many goals we set, we're not going to get there. And learn to enjoy the journey, because the growth happens when the journey is going on. When you're on, it's not really even about the destination so much. Like, I know I'm going to med school and I have this big goal that I want to become a psychiatrist, but I'm just really enjoying the journey of the day to day. I love being in my classes. I love learning with my fellow students. I love making new friends. I'm so invested and I'm curious about the material, and it's really invigorating. So I'm really enjoying that journey of learning and growing. And yes, the destination will come when it comes, but it's the present that I'm really really grateful for. And that's also extremely important when we're working towards new goals, because we often are so fixated on the destination that we forget to know that we forget to see that life is just passing us by, and we're not really making the most of our present because we're so focused on something that will happen in the future. So I hope that helps. And I am,
that I'm
oops,
really,
and
really
I'm going
grateful.
to quickly go online and see if there's any comments or any questions coming through, so that I can, answer some of them for you. Well, so far I don't see much, but keep sending your questions, keep sending your comments. Some of you might actually see this video later. So if there's anything that resonated with you, please let me know. Send me any messages for future topics, and I will be happy to address them. And thank you, as always, for joining. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was uplifting and maybe a little bit of a motivation part of your week. And I hope to see you all next week. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend.